All right, guys, hey, there's a concept in Buddhism that goes like this. If you should happen to come across the Buddha while walking on the road, you should kill him. I know it seems a little extreme, but let me unpack this. Let me show you what this means. What the Buddhists mean when they say that is that it's your very concepts of what you think will give you happiness that on the one hand are driving you towards happiness to some degree, but on the other hand are actually holding you back. Okay, what do we mean by this? For example, if deep inside you feel that to be happy, you need to find the perfect mate. Well, in that case, then it might drive you towards dating, it might drive you towards thinking about that one end endlessly. But the problem is that maybe this isn't what will actually make you happy. But there you are. Your highest conception of what happiness is I should have a mate. And if that is all your mind is focused around and you're not happy, even if you find that mate and you're still not happy, then it's your concept of what will bring you happiness that is driving all of your decisions. It's driving all of your actions. Your whole life is being organized around this one thing. And that's what they mean if you see the Buddha on the road, meaning the Buddha being your highest conception of happiness, the highest conception that you carry around inside you of what's possible for your life. That's the Buddha on the road. You met the Buddha on the road. You are finding out what you think will give you enlightenment. You should kill him, which means whatever concept that you find yourself constantly ruminating about that will bring you happiness. It could be money, it could be status, whatever it is for you, whatever it is for me. This has been a process, certainly, that you need to move beyond that idea. You know where I see this a lot in sort of new age spiritual circles is people have this notion that bliss in some way is kind of some final destination for happiness, some final destination for enlightenment, that I'm supposed to be like, oh my God, I'm so blissed out all the time, and where am I? And it's almost like this kind of mindless concept of I'm just supposed to be out of this world all the time. Or another one that's similar to this is like I'm supposed to be just bursting with manic energy all the time, as if this is what constitutes real sustainable happiness. Maybe it is for some people. This is all relative to you. Whatever it is that you're doing that makes you unsatisfied in your situation, then you have to go and look at what your concept is of what you think happiness actually is, of what you think enlightenment actually is. Then you have to look at that and say, okay, this concept that I have is driving me towards these actions. And I have to admit to myself, I'm not as happy as I could be. There's still some way to go. So it's sort of like this modeling notion, this looking into the future self and moving to that end. So to some degree then, you have to study these notions of what are the people saying constitutes happiness. And then the way I kind of do it is I close my eyes and I think to myself, what does happy David look like? What does future David look like in my highest conception of that? And things that are sort of midway there start to pop in and stuff. But when I really think about who is that person, I can start to move towards that. Now, of course, the complaint always arises. Remember, these things are just provisional. Because from wherever you stand, it's going to be wrong to some degree. And it's sort of like you move in that direction. It's just provisional, which means it's just temporary. It's just the best you can do at any given moment, which is all you can do. You move towards that. And the more you move towards that, hopefully you're improving and growing. And then you get closer to it and you start to see, even that vision was incomplete. You start to refine that vision of moving forward. There's in some of the types of Tibetan Buddhism, they actually say that one of the Tsongkhapa, he says, he in his writings, he says, I thought I knew what enlightenment was, And no matter how close I got, I thought I knew what it was. Then when I achieved it, it was still the opposite of what I thought it was. And that's that's some muckety muck saying that, some high up guy. So we take a little grace for that, and we give ourselves some forgiveness for lagging. But that's the idea. Whatever it is that you think is going to make you happy, and this can be, it usually is pretty subconscious, it's all operating in the background to some degree, that's the notion that has to go. Because that is the guiding light. That's the thing that you're following to move forward into your life, that I use to move forward into my life, is some vision of the future. But it's always not quite there, you know? But the closer I move to it, the further down the road I go. So this is just an exercise that I do with myself. I close my eyes and I just imagine myself interacting. What does happy David look like interacting? Then I have a moment to think about embodying that. What does that feel like? How can I model my behavior towards that end? Knowing that ultimately it's going to be incomplete. It's not the end all be all, but we do what we can, right? This is how I view, to some degree, in part, this is how I view my path forward. This is an exercise that I use to model myself, to look at myself and say, what am I looking at in my life? What am I looking for? How is that causing my actions to change? And how is that not quite up to snuff? How is that not quite what makes me truly happy? Then I can go in and go through the exercise of imagining that. And then a slightly clearer picture comes through and I can move in that direction. This is something that has worked really well for me in my life. And it's something that I've always wanted to put into words. And I want to give it to somebody to see if anybody is having the same experience. And we can talk about it and enjoy it. All right, you guys, take it easy.